the focus on what we've come to have as our tagline of the fun, fresh, borderline ridiculous. We intend to continue doing anthologies for new voices. And it's not always going to be horror. We're going to do genres that we want to create in, or that we want to see others create in that we haven't seen before. I mean, from the time we launched the submissions to the time we fulfill is going to be like 10 months. That's a lot of work in 10 months. So I don't know how realistic the yearly thing is going to be. Kris and I have talked about plans all the way out to 2030. Hey, I'm Kris Stahl. I am known on the internet as the Long Box Punk. I'm the creator of Barricade Brigade, the upcoming anthology Aha, a horror anthology, and also a podcaster YouTuber called Long Box Punk. You can find me on YouTube, on Substack, on Blue Sky, and on Threads and Instagram, all at Long Box Punk. I like to keep it simple. And you are watching and listening to Two Geeks Talking.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Two Geeks Talking is an entertainment industry interview show where we interview the creative people from the comic, film, TV, movie, and video game industries. And of course, I'm your host, Kurt Sasso. We're joined today by a YouTuber, a punk rocker, as well as a comic creator, writer, and co-owner of CHK Comics. He is one half of an amazing team here, joining us here today with a new horror anthology coming out called Aha. Probably didn't enunciate that enough. We're joined by the ever-talented Kris Stahl. How are you doing today?
I'm so good, Kurt. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. It should be Aha or...
Aha!
Yeah, there you go. See, that's the energy we need on this type of show here today. I have to ask, though, what's the least obvious thing about working with the other Kris who couldn't make it here today that secretly makes CH Comics work?
Oh, that's a great question. It's starting strong, Kurt.
I know.
I think the least obvious thing about working with him is that our brains work very similar. And so behind the scenes, we will have thoughts on our own that we'll end up texting each other because we live in different time zones. I'm in Ohio, he is in Oklahoma. Two Krises who live in states starting with O, and we just share a lot of the same brain waves. And so I'll text him about, hey, I was thinking about doing a horror anthology and like, why don't we just do it ourselves? And he said, it's crazy. I was thinking the same thing. And so we start on the same foot a lot of the time, which then makes the product stronger. And more cohesive. And so people might not ever think that that's a thing that's happening, but everything we're doing is intentional, and everything that we've done has honestly come from both of us having the same ideas.
But you gotta love that you're in lockstep and you're in the same wavelength of each other's creativity too, because that's something that is usually difficult to do, whether you're an artist or a writer, or the fact that you're co-owners, of course, CHK Comics here.
Yep.
What was that first meeting like when you, as Kris, met Kris Mendoza for the first time? Like, how did that synergy come about?
Yeah, so I have been doing my YouTube show, Long Box Punk, for about 2.5 years now. Nice. He found me on social media of just looking. It was when he was getting back into comics and creating. And so he found my show, started watching, heard me say a couple times that, you know, I would love to make comics. I just don't know where to start. And I have ideas, but I can't do any of the artwork. And he sent me a DM on Instagram and was like, hey, I do art and we have the same vibe of the punk stuff and loving comics. Like, it, you know, if you'd be interested at all or would want to, we could talk about making some comics together. And it was the first time I'd ever had an artist reach out to me in like a cold call type scenario, and offer to make comics with me. And so I jumped all over it. We FaceTimed, and it was very like awkward first date is the best way that we've described it. Yeah. Because we FaceTimed, and he was like, hey, I'm Kris and you're Kris. And so we're we're both Chris's. This is cool. And he was like, yeah, yeah. And I was like, so comics, huh? And it just, I mean, that's how it started. Was it took an awkward icebreaker, and then we just started talking about what comics we liked and what music we liked. And then once we knew, like, oh, we're cut from the same cloth,
Yeah.
then suddenly it turned into, so you want to draw comics? And he was like, yeah. You want to write comics? And I was like, yeah. And then it just, well, what will we do? And we started bouncing ideas back and forth, and that's how our flagship title of Barricade Brigade come to be.
That's awesome. It's like Step Brothers. Did we just become best friends? Yep.
It really was. Yeah, yeah, it really was. and
Oh.
and now, I mean, I talk to him daily, which is more than anybody else besides my wife. So
Oh, you love that though, because sometimes it's just the simplest things that you can bring people together, like with punk rock, or in this case with horror. I'm always curious about this because I'm in the TV and film industry, so there's a
mhm,
ton of horror indie films and short films and features that just get made continuously. It's almost like the same level as Hallmark Christmas films. It's like a $2
yeah.
billion industry or whatever it is. What's the misconception about horror in terms of comics or media itself? And why is this anthology your first big calling card for CHK Comics?
Mm. So I think horror gets a bad rap because of a subgenre of horror that's just the splatter
Right.
gore fest. And so everybody hears horror and they automatically think, oh, everything's going to be bloody and disgusting, and they're going to throw in naked women
Right.
or sexual situations to draw people in. Um, but it's so much more than that. Horror is, it's a genre that I love deeply and have since I stumbled into watching a Hitchcock double feature when I was like 10, at my nana's house, and I watched The Birds followed by Psycho.
Oh, wow.
And it just, that was my introduction to horror, and it just has had me ever since. You can do things in horror and explore um, really heavy topics in ways that make it, it's weird saying make it safe to explore because no one's safe in horror, but you can do things that catch the viewer, the reader off guard. You can push and make people think about, well, I kind of understand what that slasher was doing. Like, I understand what the villain is doing and why. And so then you start to think and question your own drive. Not that you're a horror slasher person, but you start to kind of think about your own life of, well, what is it about that bothered me? Like, why did that thing scare me? And that's exploring that for me personally is why I love the genre, because it takes a lot in a horror movie. I've seen thousands at this point, and it's so it takes a lot to really rattle me
Mm.
watching a movie, and when it does, that's an adrenaline rush for me. So we knew, both Kay and I knew, that we wanted to do horror because we loved the old, like, EC Vault of Horror,
Yeah.
the Phantom Stranger, all of the classic like 60s and
Yeah.
70s horror comics. I've got a huge long box just full of nothing but those, um, because they're just short bites of terror.
Mm.
And it was done in a time that we hadn't thought of all the things. Like, they weren't even using like computers or deep space as we understand it now. And
Right.
so even more so, it's impressive to me reading those old comics because they were pushing the envelope of what could be done, so much so that they had to create the comics book code to then approve what could and couldn't happen in a comic book, because the general understanding was comic books are for kids.
Mm.
And what those early EC and early horror writers were doing was not at all for kids.
Right.
And so that, to me, like, it draws me in because the writers and the artists and those creators were really just telling the industry, we're going to tell the stories we want to tell regardless of what you think. And that's so punk rock
Yeah.
that when we were talking about doing our first anthology under the CHK banner, it was like, it has to be a horror anthology. Like, it has to be, because we want to do things that other people aren't doing. And so that's where AHA really came from.
Mm.
And then we intentionally sought out submissions from new comics creators.
Okay.
So we didn't want established names in the industry. We wanted people like us that are just looking for a space to tell our stories, have some fun, make some comics, and no prereqs required,
Oh,
right? Like this isn't class 204 or 205 that you have to take a list of classes beforehand to get to. You can just step right in. And so that's where AHA came from.
well, I think that's amazing because I was looking at the list of people off of your Kickstarter page there. 16 creators, 3 cover artists, 70 plus pages, 9 stories, 3 separate covers. I mean, you're going big in this entire
Yeah.
situation, which is truly awesome. I love it. Truly, this is
Thank you.
incredible here. But talk to us about that process. I mean, 70 pages is nothing to sneeze at. 9 stories, 3 covers. I mean, you're
Yeah.
getting talent from all over the world. I'm gathering
Yeah.
here, and these 16 amazing new creators of horror comics. Talk to us about your stable that you have here, and what drew you to these people. If you want to list names, you can list names too.
Sure. So we opened up submissions at the end in like mid-November of 25 and said, hey, for the next month and a half, we're going to accept submissions. We only had one title. We've never done an anthology before. We haven't, earned our stripes in the industry, as it were. So we didn't expect really anything. And we got 68 submissions in that month and a half, which then at the start of 2026, we started FaceTiming and sharing our screen. And we literally went submission by submission and we read the pitches. We looked at the submitted artwork. We looked at the submitted covers. And we used a super high tech, fancy, top secret ranking system to then whittle it down to, well, we knew that we wanted to have the pitch process was asking for a 4 to 8 page story, period. Like no more, no less than 8 and 4. And so we knew that page count, depending on where we landed, would have us in the realm of the 50, 60 plus. And that was intentional because we both are suckers for the square bound file for like book format.
Oh yeah.
And so we honestly did it from there because we knew we wanted a square bound book. And so it was like, well, what's the minimum page count for that? 56 pages. Okay. If we have to do that, a little bit of math later, it was like, all right, so we need at least 7 stories to get to 56. And we wanted to give as many opportunities as possible. So that's why we have 3 different covers. And we went with 3 very different feels. And they're all crazy good. Like they're crazy good. And it's not just because it's our anthology and I'm not just trying to sell, like they're all insanely cool. And we gave 0 direction to all 3 of the cover artists. We were like, it has to be something horror, have fun, go. And like what they turned in, we have one, Taylor Keith, she put in a like medieval knight feel and the horse is almost like a zombie and it just is like really, and the more you look at it, the eerier it is. Josefa Jacobici did a fully like painted monster with a cult making sacrifices to this water monster cover, and it's all done in like watercolors.
Oh, wow.
It's incredible. I still, if she sees this before I have a chance to talk to her, I still want to figure out like, can I buy that from you? Because it's insane. And then our third cover artist, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Travis is he took his in more of like a body horror sense, and so it's like a monster is pulling apart a man's back, and so there's like there's just muscle and sinew and bones exposed, and it's like the covers alone kind of put on display why horror is so good, because it's 3 very different takes, 3 very different styles, and yet they're all horror. And it's got me really excited. And then the stories themselves, once we had our top list of creators, of writers and then artists, we had asked, what's the genre of the story you're writing, or what genre of horror do you like drawing most. Like it's all about having fun, because that's kind of our tagline with CHK, is that it's fun, fresh, and borderline ridiculous is like our three things that we want to
Nice.
capture. And so we wanted our creators to have fun making these books. And so when we paired the writers with the artists, which not a lot of people do, by the way, you have to have your pair already going into the pitch and not with us. So, because that was a barrier for us
Sure.
was, oh, you have to have a partnership already. Like, what if I don't know anybody? Like, what's the new person supposed to do?
Sure.
So we said, we'll take care of pairing you. Give us what you like to do. And so we had someone, Minaj's story is like a Indian body horror. It's real dark and creepy. And one of our artists had said, I love doing body horror and just weird, dark, creepy. And we were like, done. Those two are a pair now.
Mm.
And so that's how we paired it out. And we got really lucky that it was one swoop. And we just went, okay, writer story is this, artist likes doing this, cool, they're together. And it just paired everything up. There was one artist that we wanted to assign to two different people, and then we looked more back at their portfolio, and it was like, no, let's put them here because I think it's going to push both the writer and the
Nice.
artist to really put out something special. And seeing the preview pages that we've got, we set up a Discord so everybody could stay connected,
Nice.
and seeing what they're working on and seeing these stories come to life in each like story channel has been wildly fulfilling.
That's the joy of technology nowadays, is because you're not limited by dial-up anymore. you're
Yeah.
you're limited by your own creativity, and the
Yeah.
world is such a huge place, especially with so many talented artists and writers out there that never really get a chance to showcase what they can do, because either they're in their own head stopping them from doing this, or they get lucky and they get to take a first step and see your threads post and say, hey, I should really do this. This is
Yeah.
something I'm going to take that first step forward. And I'm glad that this is going to be coming about soon. The Kickstarter is coming out soon, isn't it?
Yeah. We launched March 25th. And it's going to be a 30-day campaign. We're going to have 48-hour early bird
Nice.
special tiers so that, folks who back early can save us the anxiety of a long drudge
Sure.
of a 30-day campaign. But also, we want to show the creators that, people support what you're doing. Like we as the CHK folks, we believe enough in you to put you in our book, to figure out all the logistics of file format and building a campaign page and doing all of those things that we're doing at like 1 or 2 in the morning together. But then also, like, random strangers are coming in and saying, yeah, I'll support that financially by giving money to make your dream come true. And that's why we started the campaign. And that's what I'm really excited to see happen for all of these other creators.
Because you're working with so many indie creators and you're pairing them up, and you have a Discord, which is still, honestly, that's a great organizational tool.
Yeah.
I do love it. It's way better than Teams, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
At least you can post good memes in there or whatever, and people
Right.
will laugh. But the fact that you're publishers, though, you're creating a great anthology, but you're also publishers.
Mm-hmm.
What do you wish more indie creators understood about deadlines, professionalism, and communication before they pitch someone like CHK Comics?
I think it's cheesy to say, but communication is key.
Yeah.
We've had a couple creators that have kind of been radio silent in Discord, that we like. Kris and I will be texting, at 11 o'clock at night. Hey, have you heard from this person? No. Have you heard from this person? No. Can you check their social media and see if they're still active? Because they've been silent in Discord, and I don't want them to have had something come up that, now it's not going to work out or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some of those moments. And had they just said, hey, I actually don't use Discord all that often, but I'm still posting progress stuff on my social media, then we don't have to worry about that at 11 o'clock at night. And it's that communication piece of just, if something comes up, we're not going to be mad about it. We actually had an additional creator that had to drop out because they had life happen. And it was like, hey, this is just too much on my plate, and I'm moving, and I've got all of this other stuff. And it was like, listen, like take care of life. You can always, we're not going to stop making comics. You can always come back and make more comics with us. Take care of what you need to take care of. So we adjusted, the campaign based on that. And PJ, I hope you're doing well. But it was the fact of the matter of life happens, and we've had life happen, and we understand. And so I think that the grace being given of, oh, yes, we had a deadline outlined, but then you had these things come up because let's be honest, none of us are making a living making comics. And the ones that aren't on the indie scene. It's difficult and it's a grind. And it's really because we love making comics that we keep subjecting ourselves to the late nights and burning the candle at both ends and doing all of those things. And so if you have something come up, okay, like we'll figure it out. And if we need to help support or swap somebody else in or whatever, like we'll figure that out. We don't want to, obviously, like we want everybody that we selected for the anthology to be in the final product. But if life happens, okay, we're not going to hold grudges. We're not going to be mad. And so I think just the communication piece and the grace of just like understanding and empathy, instead of, well, you missed the deadline, you're out, bye. Like, who does that benefit?
Yeah.
I understand if you've got the timeline set up. I'm getting on a weird soapbox, so
No,
I'll stop.
no,
But like the empathy piece, and that's not just in indie comics. That's like whole world. But like, when did we stop understanding that other people are going through real stuff too? You had a death in the family, take care of it. Like take a break. If you're moving and that's a big deal, take a break and move. Like focus on what you need to focus on. This is a hobby. Yes, we treat it like a business and we should, because at the end of the day, we're exchanging goods for money and we're creating things that should be existing in the world. And if you don't think of it like a business, you're kind of going to shoot yourself in the foot and then wonder why you're broke and in all this debt because you kept spending money to make the thing and then you made it and didn't sell it. But so you have to treat it like a business, but also it's not the end of the world if a book doesn't come out on a Tuesday, it comes out on Friday instead. Or you know what I mean? Like whatever those little hiccups are, you can work around it. And I just think that having empathy helps you work around whatever those hiccups are much easier than if you just are a cold Berlin Wall of just like, nope, there's no.
Well, I think it's also interesting because the whole thing about an anthology is getting your stories created, getting your stories finished, and getting the content to said publisher like yourself here. From a Kickstarter standpoint, it's about making sure you have a final product to give to the people. There have been many instances where anthologies, not like this, but in other anthologies I know that I've supported, have gone radio silent and or taken the money and run. And it's just been a level of distrust can occur when it comes to campaigns like Kickstarter. I know that's not going to happen here, or else I wouldn't have you on the show. But but I think it comes back to you have a great final product. Everything's done, if not completed already. And who's the publisher you're going with this time around, or is it just in-house?
So we're doing all of the like file formatting and all of working with printers, finding the folks, we're doing all of that ourselves. And I think that goes back to just the DIY mindset that we founded CHK on, of as much that we can do ourselves, we're going to do. Because for me, like I actually, before this just came from the library where I was making buttons, so that I have buttons that to show off and sell and, maybe throw in as little bonus items or whatever. But, it's waking up early on a Saturday to go spend 3 hours at the library making buttons. It's that stuff that I enjoy doing, even though it can be a real slog to do. But I think I think we've backed some of the same anthologies, because what you said about ghosting and like it comes back to communication and authenticity. I mean, when we ran our first campaign last year for Barricade Brigade, we were very open. We wanted to make sure that we had the book. like 95% finished before we ever launched it, so that there was no, we're going to wait forever to finish the book and you're paying for us to be able to make it and take the time. There's none of, like, we're not making money making comics. And we're really not even making any money from Aha. We're taking all of the money and funneling it straight to the other creators so that they have the experience of, I made the thing and I got paid. It's not it's not going to be, I wish it could be a crazy amount. If the anthology blows up on Kickstarter, then we can funnel even more money to them. Like half of our stretch goals are just paying them more. It's it's not, oh, we're going to put more money as CHK in our pockets because we did. No, we're turning it around and taking it out of your hand and putting it right into theirs. And that's important to us. And that, like, and it's all that communication piece. If we hit a snag or anything, that's an update that's worthy to send to the backers. They need to know what's going on, because as someone who has that little super backer tag on my name on Kickstarter, I've had anthology or any campaign, honestly, where if I hear consistently from the creators about the process and what they're going through, and if they hit a hiccup or whatever, I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
If the creator says, "Hey, I had no idea that I had to format this in CMYK instead of RGB because screen versus paper. I didn't know, and so I got the test print and it looks like garbage." And that's what it was, talking to my printer. And so if you tell me that, okay, like, great. I didn't know that either. What does CMYK even mean? I now know because the library. But it's that communication from the creators that keeps backers, like, that's a big trust for a lot of people to say, I'm trusting you with my money to make the thing. So please make the thing.
Right.
And if we fund successfully, we are making the thing. We've already got our printer lined up. We're going with Comics Well Spring this year to see what they're like. Because I am friends with one of the people that works there. And so he was like, hey, let's talk. Like, can we talk as your printer? And we talked, and they were able to do everything that we asked them to do, which was beautiful. So I was like, great, yes, we're gonna go that route, but we're doing everything in-house. I do like order fulfillment for my full-time job. And so I even kind of enjoy doing the fulfillment process of putting books and prints and patches and stickers and all the things into a box and packing it up and printing the labels. We're doing all of that in house, as like literally I'll be doing it right here in this room. So,
this may be the first of many anthologies that CHK Comics creates here. As a tone setter, what will this anthology tell about people for your long-term plans as a brand?
I think the focus on what we've come to have as our tagline of the fun, fresh, borderline ridiculous. We intend to continue doing anthologies for new voices, and it's not always going to be horror. We're going to do genres that we want to create in, or that we want to see others create in that we haven't seen before. And so we plan to do these annually. I don't know if that's going to work out because it's a lot of work. From the time we launched the submissions to the time we fulfill is going to be like 10 months. And so that's a lot of work in 10 months. So I don't know how realistic the yearly thing is going to be. But we definitely plan on we've talked, Kris and I have talked about plans all the way out to 2030 of different anthologies that we can do, always focusing on new voices, doing things differently and taking swings and having fun and trying to present unaltered, unwatered down, truly authentic to the creators' voices anthologies. And that's, we were the editors on this one, and our editing was not, hey, you really can't do that. It was, ooh, what if you take that 5% further? What if you take that idea and if you framed it this way, it could really land that stab in the back or whatever. And it was encouraging the creators to lean in instead of having to pull back. And so I think that's important for us because we want to help creators put out the best possible product. Obviously, it represents our name, so we want the product to be strong, but also we want people to find new voices that they enjoy, that then they can follow to help grow. That like it we're trying to be as selfless as possible with all of it. And I think you can see that in Aha. We both took part in different stories in this. And then we both also talked after, like through this process of making everything, to say, hey, maybe the next anthology we have a narrator character like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
He's a marionette, like a mannequin that's cut himself free and has come to life. He's a very dark turn of like Mr. Rogers. And so we named him Roger, and he has the cardigan sweater and everything. Um, and so we're writing and drawing Rogers pages in between to tie all the stories together. Um, and I think going forward, we're just going to be focusing on the Roger pieces and letting all of the stories be other creators.
That's awesome. But it's got to be difficult to flip between the creative brain and the business brain, especially between both of you here. How do you deal with those roles?
Yeah, so it's honestly a day by day thing. For me, it's always been I can't force myself to be creative, but I can force myself to be a task oriented, business minded executor because I've had so many jobs that I have to that I don't want to be, that it's like I have to do this. So it has to get done. So let's just put the nose down and go. And so it carries into this when we have been creating, I have been very intentional with my schedule that on certain days of the week, that's my creative day. And even if I just, do some doodling in my sketchbook or write a haiku or whatever, um, as long as I'm doing creation every week, it's easier to then be like, oh, it's Monday. Mondays I create. Okay. And so now when we're writing and creating those Roger pieces, it's on Mondays. Any other time, it's the business aspect of it. It's the, okay, well, I need to create the product images for Kickstarter so that when people are looking at the different reward tiers, they're actually seeing what they're going to be getting. So I need to make those. Okay, I'll sit down and make those. I need to write the synopsis on the Kickstarter page. Okay, I'll sit down and do that. And so, for me, it's I can't go from writing the Roger pieces to then also doing the logistical work of things in like the same breath. My brain doesn't work that way. It needs to separate the two.
Yeah.
So
Because you have so many different stories and overall themes when it comes to this particular anthology here specifically, is there a horror comic, film, or game that just set the bar for the tone or atmosphere in Aha? And how did you avoid just copying it?
so I don't know that we could pinpoint one specific um book or
Sure.
movie.
Right.
I do know like the um like Vault of Horrors, um, the Tales from the
Yeah.
Crypt, both the comics and the show,
Yeah.
and all of the Tales from the Crypt things. Those are very heavily
Of
influential
course.
because those are both what we read on our own for fun, and we both watched the Tales from the
Oh yeah.
Crypt show and all
Oh,
that stuff. And you can't I can't think of Tales from the Crypt without hearing the Crypt Keeper's
laugh.
cackle.
Yep.
And it's so good.
I
And
know.
so we we wanted to try and capture that same, like he was borderline ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? Like you have this weird wispy haired skeleton that's getting joy out of telling all of these twisted
Yeah.
tales. And so we wanted to try and capture that same energy, like
Sure.
the essence of that, and put that into Aha, so that we have something that folks can look at and go like, no, I mean, it's got all different types of horror. Like every story we've got intentionally is a very different corner of horror, so that there's literally a story in there for any horror fan.
Nice.
And if you don't love all of them, that's okay, because not everything is for everyone.
Right.
And I will sing that quote from Charles Soule until the day that I pass, because it's the best comic creator advice that I have ever heard that he wasn't even trying to give advice about. So so understanding that, it was like, well, let's have some fun. Let's include some things that uh, might entertain us. Some of them are like, that's not my cup of tea, but it's still going in the book because it could be my neighbor's cup of tea. I don't know. But yeah, so in terms of not copying, we wanted to make sure that the stories felt unique, that there was something different about them that we hadn't seen before. And there were some submissions that felt very cut, copy, paste that we said no to, for that reason, because it was like, I've seen that movie and that's just that movie. And we don't want that. Like, we want new. So give us new. And some people we did email separately and provide feedback. We did have a couple creators that we said no to, ask for like, hey, what could I have done differently, or what could I do better next time? Which was like, great, I'll take the time and give feedback. I have no problem doing that. But yeah, so we were intentional when we were putting everything together that the stories felt different than anything that we had read before, even while also using the tropes of horror, with whether it's vampires or werewolves or body horror, like body manipulation, or witches or anything like that. We
Yeah.
might hit some of those tropes, but we hit them from a different aspect or from a different approach. And so that's the fun that we had, was putting them together in a way that Roger could tie everything together. And honestly, writing Roger has been just insanely fun.
Nice.
Because we're like, well, he's a twisted mannequin. Well, like, he doesn't have to follow any logic at all.
Exactly.
So those parts are all like, he's got his own story that's happening. And that's also like just something that we were like, I think it'd be fun to have this everything is cohesive, and there is no, well, that seems really random to just stick a mannequin in there and say stuff about the stories. You just had to have that. Well, no, we didn't have to. We chose to. And we also chose to give Roger his own story and his own eeriness and creepiness. And I mean, there's stuff that we've written that's like, oh, that's okay, that's weird.
We've gone too far. Let's pull it back a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, like, did we pass the line there? Should we? Yeah, he's a mannequin. He can do that. He doesn't have any bones. It doesn't matter how he sits.
What does your current horror diet look like, whether it's comics, movies, or podcasts, that you're quietly feeding whatever comes after Aha?
Mm. So I like, I will always seek out comics that look and feel different. Most recently, it was a series called Cul-de-sac that was published from Bad Idea. Of course, I can't remember the creative team on that one at all, but it looked different when you did a quick flip through, and it read different, and it was very well done. And it was unlike any other werewolf story that I had heard, because it focused on a family of werewolves that were trying to just like live in the suburbs. And it just was something that was unique and had me thinking like, huh, that's a different take on that. And I like that. There's always a place for me for the Universal monsters. Like, I still think that the original Dracula movie with Bela Lugosi is the best Dracula movie. It just is.
Yeah.
I watch it every year. Um, and also, I like seeing vampire tales that feel different.
Mm.
Like, don't recreate Bela Lugosi's performance, because you'll never do it. But also, like, what made his Dracula creepy, and then maybe use that instead, or tell a different tale that maybe doesn't focus on him but takes place in his world.
Sure.
Those are the stories that I'm looking for, because it feels like so many of those tropes have been explored, and I'm really deep diving into like folklore
Mm. Okay.
and different cultural, like, mythology, because there's a lot of forgotten monsters that are there,
Mhm.
or tales that are just disturbing. That's like you just had that in your everyday life, that you just believed that at any point this cannibal could come up and just annihilate your tribe. That's terrifying. But it's also been reconnecting my family lineage. I was able to trace it back, and so now I'm like a card carrying tribal member of the Abenaki
Oh,
tribe,
wow.
which is based out of New England. And in that process, I want to learn more about the tribe's history. And so I've been doing a lot of that research, and then also like their belief structure and their myths and their folklore. And that has turned into me wanting to, well, what if I wrote these in modern day times, but with those monsters and keeping them authentic to the tribal beliefs,
Yeah.
but just modernizing those tales. And so that's been a lot of what I've gotten stuck on. And when I get stuck on something, I deep
Yeah.
spiral, get stuck on it
Yeah.
until I make the thing, or, come out the other side with a brand new perspective. And so that's my current obsession, is more of like the folktale
Nice.
aspect of things.
One that was created locally here. It's a feature film that just got picked up, and well, it's done the film circuit and all that other stuff as well too, worldwide. Called Vampire Zombies from Outer Space.
That sounds amazing.
It is. It is. It is black and white. It is literally like a riff on the '50s style, like Bela Lugosi and all that other stuff. It's hilarious and campy and fun, and it's on Blu-ray and DVD somewhere. You can purchase it or whatever. But the creators of that I went to university with, so I saw their
Okay.
comedy styling from the beginning, and how they turned it into this is just amazing. I mean, I think it would be up your alley, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it
So,
definitely sounds like it.
so and you'll see the cover and be like, oh yeah, Bela Lugosi influence right there. Oh,
Nice.
look, there's Planet Nine or whatever, or Plan 9 or whatever from outer space,
Hmm.
etc. You can see the influences in there too. So, and then it was
That's
all
great.
shot locally around Windsor, Essex County here.
That's awesome.
So. Everyone has one person that inspired them on their path to where they are today. Who was that for you?
Mm. Um, Gosh, if I were to answer as of today, I would probably say Matt Kint. Um, he is a comic creator. He's a cartoonist. He makes books that make me think.
Hmm.
And some of them he just writes, some of them he writes and does the artwork for. Um, Sometimes he does just the artwork for other series. And I love his style, because looking at it, it makes me think, I think I could probably do that. And then I try it, and it's so much more complex. And that is all of his comics too. Um, he was the writer of the first book that I picked up as an adult in a comic shop, and I that immediately drew me back in to comics. And so I will always owe him for that, because it spiraled into this. um, but the way that he writes comics and thinks about storytelling specifically, is just so much different than a lot of the other creators that I've talked to, um, with how they approach their craft. And it just blows my mind, how he thinks about things and how he creates and builds layers upon layers of story and character development. And it's really something that I have been incredibly fortunate enough to talk to him about, and thank him for, like, hey, I this might sound weird, but thank you for making your comics your way, because I can't help but read them and then feel inspired. Like, that was so cool. How do I do that? And no one is making comics like Matt Kint is right now. Like, he released a hardcover of one of his stories called Furball, which is like a horror comic based on a cat. And so he released a flocked graphic novel hardcover of it, so that it pet like a cat
Oh,
would. And like, no one else is doing that, right? And so the way that he has unique stories, and he's hit a bunch of different genres, And every time I read anything, I'm trying to figure out where he's going, and I've yet to figure it out before he gets there. And it just, so he's my current, and I gush about him all the time on on my show, which I'm sure if anybody is familiar with my show, they're like, oh yeah, of course he's saying my kid, because it just, everything I read from him um, is just, it makes me think, it gets me, and it I enjoy all of his stuff. So
Love
he's
it.
probably my top inspiration right now.
Awesome. I'll have to look him up.
Yeah.
From a professional standpoint, you are a successful creator of comics yourself, of course, of an amazing YouTube show, as well as having an amazing partner with Kris and working now with CHK Comics in this amazing upcoming anthology, which I'm sure will be a success on Kickstarter as well too. So, from a professional standpoint, you are successful. Do you consider yourself personally successful?
I here's the psychiatry bill. I don't think I don't think I would say that I am. Um because saying that I am successful at it feels like I've made it. Um and you hear people like, "Oh, how did, like, they made it. They got the, they're doing the thing that they made it." And that to me feels finite. And I don't feel like I'm done. And so I don't want to say that I'm successful because I'm still figuring it out. I still, secret time, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just have a dogged determination to figure it out. I've never put together an anthology, and neither had Kris, and yet we were like, let's do an anthology. And we suddenly had to figure out how to do that. How do we get people to submit their stuff? I don't know. Let's figure that out. Well, what have we done before? And learn from our peers and ask very specific questions of other creators and of other friends. And how do we do this? Well, I don't know. We have way more questions than we do answers. And it's just because we have the passion to continue that we answer those questions, but it's not because of us. We're just the ones that pulled the information together to do the thing that we want to do. We've got a lot of stuff that we want to do, and a lot of different things that we want to try, that we've talked about doing, that we just, who knows how to do that? We don't, but we'll figure it out. And so if people want to say that we're successful, cool. I don't know that I would ever tell anybody like, yes, I have successfully created comics. It's true. I have. And I successfully have created a YouTube show that found its audience, and people want to come on and do all of those things. But I wouldn't say that I have a successful YouTube show because of all of the extra baggage, and maybe it's just my own, that comes with that word, that feels like it's the end of, well, you did that successfully, great job, what's next? I still want to do this. Like, I still want to create comics. I still want to do my show and talk to creative people and talk to comic creators and talk about comics and dissect things. I'm a process junkie. And so I'm always asking, how'd you do that? Well, why did you make that choice? Well, what were you thinking about when you did this? Why is it that way? What, how are you doing this? How do you build a Kickstarter page? How do you market your book? How do you not just copy paste every update every single day? Like, hey, did you back my Kickstarter yet? Hey, did you back my Kickstarter yet? How do you do? And sometimes I get answers, and other times in asking enough people and I hear their answers, I'm like, that's not the answer for me. Okay, what? That's not the answer either. So if I know what my answer isn't, then I come up with my own answer that I didn't know initially, and that's just how I learn. But I don't think that that makes me successful. I think it just makes me a avid, hungry learner that can't get enough of making comics.
The reverse of success is failure. How do you deal with your failures?
Head on. uh, there have been plenty of failed attempts, and it sounds very corporate cliche. Every failure is a learning opportunity. And in the moment, it doesn't feel like that, because it's the disappointment, it's the frustration, it's the questions and the unknown, like why didn't this work? But it's how you respond to it, which I know is the question. It's the like I've said it before. I have a dogged determination. I'm way too stubborn to let one thing or one failure, one speed bump stop me. And it even comes down to the semantics of even when I know it's a failure, that's not a failure. It's because a failure can shut someone down. That's a speed bump. That's just forcing me to slow down and look at what I'm doing and figure out how to get over it or how to get past it. And so that's how I deal with it. Um, I don't know if that's the healthiest way to do it, but I mean, I don't want to get stopped because I screwed up or because I did whatever. And maybe it's because I did theater for a lot of years. And so I got a lot of no's. And some actors get turned off by, oh, well, they don't like me. So I'm a failure. I can't do this. No, you can. You just can't do it with them right now. But maybe in a future show, or maybe a different director doing the same show, or maybe a different theater altogether. Like it just, it, if I let failures stop me from doing what I want to do, I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't get in my car because I've had a car wreck. So I failed at being a safe driver. So I just won't drive anymore. I can't do that. That's not an option. I, have failed at relationships. I have failed at work. I have been fired. And it's just a matter of is your desire to continue doing whatever it is stronger than your feeling of failure. And for me, it absolutely is because I don't let failure slow me down. I get rattled and some failures are bigger than others, sure, that I have to like, hey, I gotta take it. Like, I just need a week to deal with this thing that just blew up in my face. Um, but for the most part, it happens, and the rest of the day I might be rattled, but by the time I wake up the next day, then I have the choice of do I stop because this didn't work, or do I find a different way to do it? And 9.5 times out of 10, I just find a different way to do it. And or I try again, but with new knowledge, or I go back to the books, or I go back to the internet and figure out like what did I do wrong? Why didn't that thing work? How I didn't reach a big enough audience. What can I do differently? And then asking questions, and it's a lot of asking questions for me, to gain information, to then compile all of that information, stuff it into my brain, and then say, okay, I have enough that now I can take that thing that I failed at before and succeed at doing it because I've learned from that experience. And so learning from every failure and learning how to not fail again is a concept we talked in one of my jobs about, failing forward. Like you can fail, but you got to fail forward. You got to come out the other side of that failure stronger, better, more intelligent, more prepared, more whatever, than beforehand. Otherwise, you didn't fail forward, and you truly did fail. And if you fail and it stops you from doing that thing, that's true failure. So it's framing it, and it's knowing that I'm too gosh darn stubborn to let a failure stop me from keeping me from what is a lifelong dream of making comics. And I'm doing it and I'm learning every time. So cool.
The younger generation is looking at your work and then becoming inspired to be creative in their own way, whether it's as a comic writer, an artist, or maybe they want to become a publisher and maybe you'll inspire them down that particular path. How can they inspire the generation that follows them?
Mm. I think for me, the key has been to, um, unapologetically make, just make the thing. And there is no right time. There is no uh, perfect mindsets or waiting for the right, you know, societal time to take advantage of making the thing because you're going to strike the iron while it's hot. That doesn't exist. You have to make it. And for me, making comics really came from I really want to make comics. Well, how do I do that? I don't know. I gotta have an artist. Okay, so I found an artist found me. And I said yes to the opportunity. And to say yes to opportunities that are in front of you, and also make what you want to see on the shelves. And I guarantee you there's 8 billion people in the world, or some crazy big number that I can't understand. You're not the only person that wants to see that thing exist. And if you make it and you just keep talking about it and keep sharing it and keep making more things, the right people will find you. It could take years, it could take days. That's the great unknown. And it comes down to how badly do you want it? And for me, I wanted it pretty dang bad. So I just started making and kept making and kept making and kept talking to more people and finding local things that I could get involved with, or finding more groups online that I could talk to and share my stuff with, or finding other creators that I could bounce ideas off of, or finding 74 discords to be a part of and sharing ideas there and learning from other people and seeing what they did. And you just have to be a sponge and about whatever. It doesn't have to be comics. It could be dance. It could be architecture. It could be furniture building. It could be leatherworking. It could be, who cares? Whatever the thing is that you want to make or do, just start and figure it out later. But if you want to have the thing that you want to make made, no one's going to make it for you. So you have to be the one to do it. So drink the extra coffee. You're going to need that, and just start making the thing and figure out how to make it better and bigger and broader later, but make it first and then just keep growing and learning and enhancing. And that's all I've done. I don't have any, I don't have any magic answer. I've been doing the show for 2.5 years, and but I've been broadcasting in some way, shape, or form or fashion for 22 years now. It took me 22 years to have a thing that is being recognized by people in the industry that are now reaching out to me that I never in a million years would have expected. I just scheduled a show in June, secret time. I haven't told anybody. I just scheduled a show in June with a creator that I never would have expected would reach out to me. And it's just because I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I love talking about comics and I love understanding comics with creatives and talking to creators, because everybody has a different way that they create. And I just that fascinates me. And it sounds very niche, but here I am, and I have people that are reaching out to me that have dozens of titles to their name, have published works with the big two, with all these different companies, and they're reaching out to me to come on my show. And that didn't happen overnight. It happened with a lot of work that went in ahead of time, and just that it's that dogged energy of like I'm too stubborn to not do this. So it you got to be stubborn and you got to want it bad.
Good answers all around there. The last question is this: if your life was a comic book, what would its title be? And what would its soundtrack be?
The soundtrack is easier for me, because long box punk, right? It would absolutely be like pop punk and ska, because those are the two just happiest and most energetic corners of punk. And that's how I intentionally try to live my life. I fully believe that I was put on this planet to make other people smile, because I have zero shame. I don't care if it's gonna make someone's day better. I'll do it 100% of the time, and that comes with what I'm creating, whether I'm telling jokes, whether I'm at work, whatever realm or facet that I'm taking part in. If I can be the person that's spreading positivity, I will. So having very upbeat ska, um, maybe with an edge to it, like a couple Less Than Jake songs, um, but like Real Big Fish, just plenty of horns and trumpets and Maybe the occasional like screamo song woven in, because not everything is happy all the time, and you just have to deal with those moments and accept that that's how life is. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, and that's okay. Um, because again, it comes back to how you respond to it. And so with me, I just respond to it with what I love, and that's comics and music. And so I get back to that, and then I'm back listening to ska again, and everything is wonderful. The title is a harder nut to crack because the title needs to be the essence of what it is. I mean, I get, I guess it might be like the positive punk. I feel like that would be it because that captures everything. Punk is DIY. Everything I do is DIY. I support local businesses. I don't support as often as I can big billionaire corporations. They don't need my money. The small business owner does. And so I'll support them. I'll go to the local restaurant, mom and pop shops instead of the big chains because chains don't need my money. The mom and pop do. And it goes the same with artists. I will forever support human artists creating instead of AI slop, um, because of all the harm that it does. So I think the positive punk would be it because if I read something and I don't like it, I'm not going to post about it just to hate post on something because that does no one any good. It might be good for clicks to rage bait, but I'm not in any of this for clicks. I didn't start the show to get 1 million subscribers and 100,000 million followers or what. Like I don't care. I don't honestly. I don't even look at my numbers, because if I did, I could get discouraged because having low numbers could be seen as a failure. And if I fail at it, and I'm like, oh, nobody's watching, so nobody cares, then I might stop doing it. And I'm having too much freaking fun doing it to stop. So I'm not going to look at the things that could stand in my way. So I don't look at the numbers. I don't care. Um, and I don't post negative content. I might post very raw, real content. Like I just lost my favorite aunt. She just passed actually 2 days ago. And that has been very difficult. And so the last Substack article that I wrote was very emotional and very raw, but that's how zines are. And I try and treat my Substack like a zine. And these are my thoughts just about whatever. And I try and carry that through with everything I do. I don't need to mask. Everybody else does. So why should I? I masked enough growing up to fit in, to be a good student, to study and do all the things when my brain was like, no, you need to get up and run around the building 17 times and then sit back down and then do 7 jumping jacks. And then, oh, look at the time. Like my ADHD is just too all over the place to sit in a chair for 8 hours a day and learn. That doesn't work for me, but I had to mask to do it because that's what you have to do. I'm done masking. So if I'm feeling something, I'm going to talk about it. If I'm experiencing something and I'm excited about it, we made an anthology. Like I have a hat that has the logo on it because I never want that excitement of seeing my thing come to life. I never want that to go away. And so I don't even remember the question.
You've hit it definitely for sure. I love this stuff. I love your energy with this. I'm sure this campaign is going to be truly amazing here. But I hate to say it, that ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. I want to thank you, Kris, for being on the show.
Kurt, this was a blast. Thank you for just letting me ramble. You had the deepest questions I think I've ever been asked about comics. So
Well,
thank you, sir.
I guess my 18 years of doing this has rubbed off finally. For those that want to support you, this comic and the anthology and everything like that, how can we support you? How can we help you? Where's the Kickstarter campaign and anything else you'd like to promote?
Yeah, so CHK Comics, our newsletter goes through Substack. So if you just search at CHK Comics, we pop right up. It's the metal hand with the bracelets, is our logo. That's everywhere. on everything. And so that's the best way to keep up with updates from us. We do have an Instagram as well that we're posting some snippets and some short videos of Kris doing artwork, which is really cool to see because I'm a process junkie. So I like seeing, especially when I wrote it, my creations come to life on his paper. So if you're into that sort of things and you only want to keep up with CHK, totally fine. Substack and Instagram are the two places. If you want to keep up with me and all the things that I'm doing and hear all of my emotional things and see what I'm living, I share all of that on Substack and Instagram. I wanted to get away from Meta, but it's too ingrained and there's too many other people there that I have community with now to leave it. So both you can search at Longbox Punk everywhere. I do have Blue Sky, but I rarely post. YouTube, obviously, that's where my show is. If you want to hear me on the other side of the camera and asking questions of creators and dissecting process and talking about all the newest and greatest indie comics, that's where I do it at Longbox Punk on YouTube. I'm all about branding. So everything is that handle. If you just search that on whatever social media platform you're on, you'll probably find me, except TikTok, because I don't talk on Tix. I've never done that. But yeah, the Kickstarter, if you search AHA, AHA, because A Horror Anthology, see, we're clever. We use that acronym. But if you search AHA on Kickstarter, we're project number 3 that comes up. So super easy. It has this logo. So just look for the giant AHA. There we go. Giant AHA. That's it. And it would mean a lot to us to see our creators have, for some of them, their very first comic come to life and have a product that they can hold that say, I made that. Because there's no better drug. There's no drug that gives you the high of holding something that you created in your hands for the first time. And that's what we want to create for them. So it would mean a lot to find this campaign successfully fund early so that we don't have to stress and so that we can hit stretch goals to pay our creators even more.
Well, thanks so much for being on the show here, Kris. I greatly appreciate it. That ends this particular episode of Two Geeks Talking. You can, of course, find this interview and 1,200 plus others, because I've lost count, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/TGT Media. The podcast you can search by going to Two Geeks Talking. That's TWO Geeks Talking, wherever you get your podcasts. And as I say every week, everyone has a story to tell. It's up to me to help bring that out. Thanks for listening and watching on Two Geeks Talking.